It will be another week before a Panhandle man convicted of charges of attempted second-degree assault and use of a deadly weapon to commit a felony learns his fate. With KNOP's Panhandle Roundup, I'm Victoria Nargard. KNEB reports that Jason Lealing was slated to be sentenced last week for 2 felonies, but sentencing was continued for a second time as the pre-sentence investigation by the probation office has yet to reach completion. The 45-year-old was arrested in October after a verbal altercation with a man on West Overland and attempted to run the man over. It took a Scottsbluff County jury approximately 1 hour to come back with the guilty verdicts following his April trial. Lealing is now set to be sentenced on July 10th. And a Panhandle man accused of sexually assaulting a woman at her home last August has been deemed not competent to stand trial. Jesus Hernandez of Scottsbluff was arrested last September on a charge of forcible first-degree sexual assault. Court records indicate the victim was sleeping and awoke to Hernandez sexually assaulting her. The victim was able to give an accurate description of Hernandez's clothing, and police made contact with the suspect a few blocks away. Yesterday, Hernandez was found not competent for trial, but there is probability that he will be restored to competency in the foreseeable future with treatment. An August 23rd court date has been scheduled for a review hearing, according to KNEB. And one of 2 Alliance men nabbed in a March traffic stop in Gering has struck a plea to avoid standing trial. Moses Don and Marco Debray were pulled over in a search of their vehicle resulted in the discovery of a bag of suspected meth, a scale, and baggies, along with a pair of brass knuckles. Debray is facing charges of possession of meth and no drug tax stamp, while Don pleaded to a lesser charge of possession of a controlled substance and attempted possession of a deadly weapon. Debray will be back in court later this month, while Dawson has an August 9th sentencing date, according to our colleagues at KNEB. And meteorologist Andre Brooks is standing by with a check of your Panhandle weather.
Well, thank you so much, Victoria. And we are seeing those partly to mostly cloudy conditions here across our Panhandle. And this is just going to continue throughout the rest of the day today. And we did see a little bit of shower activity, but that is starting to evaporate. And as we head into our current temperatures, our temperatures right now are mainly in the 60s and the 70s. So it is rather on the mild side. And these temperatures will continue to go on up throughout the rest of the day today. In fact, we will see those temperatures increase into the 80s with those partly cloudy conditions. And we do have the potential, though, of seeing some strong to severe storms for our Wednesday with damaging winds and hail. So we're going to be watching this very, very carefully. And as far as on our 4th of July, we will see those temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s and then drop down into the 60s as we get into the evening hours, just in time for the fireworks. So Victoria, looks like our 4th of July is looking pretty good.
Sounds great. Thank you, Andre. And days after the community of Crete was rocked by an unthinkable shooting, many are taking the time to reflect on what happened. We spoke with a neighbor in the area who told us that the shooter, 74-year-old Billy Booth, had issues with neighbors in the past, but nothing as extreme as Friday's incident.
Sometimes he was just a normal person and nothing really you would even think of. And then other times he was kind of just yelling about anything or everything. No one really did anything to him to ever get any of that anger out of him.
We spoke with the family, who declined to speak on camera, but representatives from the League of United Latin American Citizens, who is assisting the family, says it's been a traumatic few days for them. They've lived in Crete for 10 years after coming from Guatemala. And the University of Nebraska system is reaching out to a new group of students in hopes of furthering their education. They're calling the online program micro-credentials. Each is a certificate proving expertise in a certain area of study that can be used to further one's career. The end goal is to allow students who may not have finished college or those who are still looking to add a new skill under their belt the opportunity to finish a college program and give them a sense of pride in their education.
Primarily what we're trying to do is fill a gap that we have where there is 76% of U.S. workers feel that they're unprepared for the digital workforce. And so we want to ensure that we are meeting that need across the state as our land grant mission.
The courses are only 10 weeks and are mostly done at someone's own pace, with weekly meetings with instructors and students to help cement the material knowledge being shared. Now Panhandle Sports with John Clanton.
Welcome to the Sports Desk. 9 University of Nebraska track and field athletes showcasing their skills at the U.S. Track and Field Olympic Trials in Eugene, Oregon. And all 9 of those athletes performing very well and representing the Big Red, including on a Sunday, as Maddie Harris took 5th in the javelin. Tyus Wilson, he would take 3rd in the high jump. None of the 9, though, qualifying for the 2024 Olympic Games. But 3 Huskers from the track and field team did qualify for the Summer Games for other countries. Rima Otabar will compete for the Bahamas. Axelina Johansson will compete for Sweden. And Mane de Klerk will compete for South Africa. Sticking with the U.S. track and field trials, Nebraska native Maggie Malone Hardin is heading to Paris, thanks to a record-breaking performance in the javelin to qualify. It will mark her 3rd Olympic Games. Maggie started her college track and field career at the University of Nebraska before transferring to Texas A&M. The 2024 Summer Olympic Games set to begin July 26 in Paris, France. Good luck to Team USA. That's all from the sports desk. Everyone have a great rest of the day and see ya.
And the groundbreaking decision from the U.S. Supreme Court: presidents have absolute immunity for official acts while in office, but they do not have immunity for unofficial acts. President Biden is now speaking out against the ruling. In a speech from the White House Monday evening, Biden said the limits of a president's power now solely rest with the holder of the office and the choices the person makes, adding voters will have the ultimate say in holding Trump accountable.
This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States.
The decision had an instant effect. Trump's legal team filed a letter seeking to challenge the conviction in his New York hush money trial. Trump himself took to social media, calling the decision a big win. And both of Nebraska's parties weighing in with different takes on the ruling. The NEGOP saying in part, quote, "Today's U.S. Supreme Court ruling on Trump v. United States is a victory for the American rule of law, our Constitution, and democracy. Democrats cannot continue to rule through lawfare." And the Nebraska Democrats adding, yet again, the Trump-appointed Supreme Court has handed down a decision that rips apart the seams of our democracy. Now is the time to double down on canvassing for Democrats to protect the very core of America. And fighting wildfires can be an extremely dangerous job, so take the time to honor these specially trained first responders today because it's National Wildland Firefighter Day. Wildfires burn millions of acres across the U.S. each year. Over the last 3 decades, the number of homes destroyed by them has more than doubled. These blazes can be difficult to get to, and equipment has to be brought in. That's why wildland firefighters are often trained in activities like air support and smoke jumping. The Biden administration's proposed budget for the next fiscal year includes $75 million to increase the pay off federal and tribal wildland firefighters. And that concludes another edition of KNOP's Panhandle Roundup. Remember to join us weekdays as we highlight the news, sports, and weather that matters in the Nebraska Panhandle.